What would you do if you discovered your spouse had stolen your children's future? Don't forget to subscribe for more shocking stories like this one. Seraphina Aldrich had always prided herself on being the perfect wife. 23 years of marriage to Castor, raising their twins Lyra and Orion, maintaining their pristine Victorian home in Millbrook Heights. Everything seemed flawless from the outside. But on that frigid December morning, perfection shattered like crystal hitting concrete. She'd been organizing tax documents when she found it, a bank statement tucked beneath Castor's desk blotter. The college fund account they'd built for 18 years, the one that should have held $247,000, showed a balance of $1,200. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through months of withdrawals. Online gambling sites, cryptocurrency investments, sports betting. Each transaction felt like a dagger to her heart. "Mom." Lyra's voice startled her from the doorway. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Seraphina quickly closed the laptop, forcing a smile. "Just tired, sweetheart. Excited about Christmas tomorrow." But inside, a storm was brewing. 23 years of trust, obliterated. Her children's futures, gambled away by the man she'd shared her bed with for over 2 decades. As Lyra chatted about college plans, Seraphina made a silent vow. Castor thought he could steal their children's dreams and face no consequences. He was about to learn how wrong he was. That evening, Seraphina sat in her car outside the law offices of Blackwood & Associates, her breath forming clouds in the winter air. She'd called in every favor, used every connection from her days as a paralegal before the children were born. Miranda Blackwood, her former colleague turned high-powered attorney, had agreed to an emergency meeting. "Seraphina, my God, what's happened?" Miranda's sharp eyes assessed her friend's haggard appearance. "I need to protect my children's future," Seraphina said, sliding the bank statements across the mahogany desk. "And I need to do it before he realizes I know." Miranda's expression hardened as she reviewed the documents. "This is financial abuse. We can file for legal separation immediately, freeze joint accounts, and—" "No." Seraphina's voice was steel. "I want him to face consequences publicly. I want him to understand the gravity of what is done." "What are you thinking?" Christmas dinner. 24 family members, including his pretentious mother who thinks he can do no wrong. "I want to serve him divorce papers with the Christmas ham." Miranda leaned back, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Now that's the Seraphina I remember. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right." The next morning, Christmas Eve, Seraphina's phone buzzed with a text from her younger sister, Celestine, "Emergency meeting at the cafe. Now." Seraphina arrived to find Celestine waiting with their older brother, Thaddeus, a forensic accountant who'd driven 3 hours from the city. "Miranda called us," Celestine said without preamble. "She filled us in on everything." Thaddeus slid a folder across the table. "I've been digging into Castor's finances all night. It's worse than you think, Sarah. He's been gambling for 3 years, not just the past few months." Seraphina felt the blood drain from her face. 3 years. There's more. He took out a second mortgage on the house 6 months ago. And that luxury car he claimed was a bonus from work? He financed it with a loan against his 401k. Celestine reached across the table, grasping her sister's hand. "The house is at risk, Sarah. But the good news is, we found assets he thinks you don't know about." "What kind of assets?" "A savings account in his mother's name that has been funneling money into. Stock options from his company. And most interesting of all." Thaddeus paused dramatically. "A vintage wine collection worth nearly $80,000, stored in a climate-controlled facility downtown." Seraphina stared at her siblings. "He's been hiding money while stealing our children's future." "Welcome to the real Castor Aldrich," Celestine said grimly. Back home, Seraphina moved through the familiar motions of Christmas preparation like an actress playing a role. She seasoned the ham, arranged the flowers, and set the dining table with their finest china, the Waterford crystal that had been her grandmother's. Castor lounged in his recliner, oblivious to the storm approaching. Smells amazing in here, babe. Your mother's ham recipe. Of course, she replied, her voice steady despite the fury burning in her chest. I've invited a few extra people for dinner. I hope that's okay. Sure, who? Miranda Blackwood and her assistant. They're alone for the holidays. Castor barely looked up from his sports highlights. Fine by me. More people to impress with my wine selection. If only he knew, Serafina thought, that his precious wine collection was about to become part of her asset recovery strategy. The doorbell rang, and Serafina's heart raced. The first guests were arriving, and among them would be the process server Miranda had arranged, disguised as a family friend. She opened the door to find her mother-in-law, Evangeline Aldrich, standing imperiously on the threshold in her mink coat. Serafina, darling, Evangeline air-kissed her cheek. I brought my famous bread pudding. I trust you've prepared adequately for today's gathering. Oh, Evangeline, Serafina smiled sweetly. I've prepared more than you could possibly imagine. The Aldrich dining room buzzed with conversation as family members filled every seat. Lyra and Orion helped serve appetizers, their faces bright with Christmas joy that made Serafina's heart ache. They had no idea their world was about to change forever. Castor held court at the head of the table, regaling his cousins with stories of his latest business successes. His younger brother, Lysander, hung on every word, while their sister, Isadora, nodded approvingly. Castor's always been the smart one with money, Evangeline announced, raising her wine glass. Building that college fund, investing wisely. Not like some people who waste their money on frivolous things. The comment was directed at Serafina, as usual. Evangeline had never approved of her son's choice to marry a mere paralegal instead of someone from their social circle. Serafina caught Miranda's eye across the table. The attorney sat quietly beside a young man she'd introduced as her research assistant, actually the process server, Kieran. Speaking of smart investments, Serafina said, her voice carrying across the room. Castor, why don't you tell everyone about your recent financial ventures? Castor's fork paused halfway to his mouth. What do you mean? Oh, you know. The online trading you've been doing. The cryptocurrency investments. All those late nights on your computer, making us money while we sleep. A flush crept up Castor's neck. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I found some very interesting bank statements yesterday. The room fell silent. Even the twins stopped eating, sensing the tension that suddenly filled the air like smoke. Castor's face had gone pale, but he attempted a laugh. Sarah, you're being dramatic. Can we discuss this later? It's Christmas. No, I think Christmas dinner is the perfect time for truth-telling, Serafina stood, her voice carrying a strength she'd forgotten she possessed. Everyone here loves Lyra and Orion. They've watched these children grow up, supported their dreams, contributed to their college funds. She pulled out a folder from the sideboard. So I think they deserve to know that their college fund, $247,000 that we've saved for 18 years, is gone. Gasps echoed around the table. Orion's face went white. What do you mean, gone? I mean your father gambled it away. Every single penny. On sports bets, online poker, cryptocurrency schemes that promised to make him rich quick. That's not true. Castor slammed his hand on the table, making the crystal glasses ring. You don't understand complex investments, Serafina. There were some temporary losses, but... Temporary losses. Serafina's voice rose. Show them the account balance, Castor. Show them the $1,200 that's left of our children's future. Evangeline's face had gone ashen. Castor, tell me this isn't true. Mother, I can explain. Can you also explain the second mortgage you took out without telling me? Serafina continued, her voice gaining momentum. Or the secret account you've been hiding money in. The one in your mother's name. Evangeline gasped. What account? Castor, what is she talking about? The mask was finally slipping. Castor's composure cracked completely. You went through my private papers? You had no right. I had every right. I'm your wife, and those are our children you've stolen from. The room erupted in chaos. Family members began talking over each other, demanding explanations. Lyra was crying, and Orion sat frozen in shock. Enough! Evangeline's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Castor Theodore Aldrich, you will explain this situation immediately. Castor looked around the table at the faces of his family, disappointment, anger, and betrayal reflected in every expression. Finally, his shoulders sagged in defeat. I thought I could win it back, he whispered. It started small. A few sports bets here and there. But then I started losing, and I thought if I could just make one big score. 3 years, Serafina said quietly. You've been gambling for 3 years. While I worked part-time jobs to contribute to the college fund, you were betting it away. I was trying to make more money for the family. By lying to us every single day. Orion's voice cracked. Dad, Stanford was my dream. I got in early admission. How am I supposed to go to college now? The pain in her son's voice nearly broke Serafina's resolve, but she pressed on. There's more. Tell them about the wine collection, Castor. The $80,000 worth of vintage wines you've been collecting while telling me we needed to budget for groceries. Lysander stared at his brother in disbelief. $80,000? On wine? And the luxury car, Serafina continued. Financed against your 401k. Our retirement fund that you've been raiding for your gambling addiction. Miranda cleared her throat. Perhaps this would be a good time for me to step in. All eyes turned to her. I'm not just a family friend. I'm Serafina's attorney. And Kieran here isn't my research assistant. Kieran stood up, pulling out an official document. Castor Aldrich, you're being served with divorce papers and a temporary restraining order regarding all marital assets. The serving of papers sent shockwaves around the table. Evangeline clutched her pearls, literally. Serafina, surely you don't mean to. I mean to protect my children, Serafina said firmly. And apparently, I need to protect them from their own father. Castor stared at the papers in his hands. You can't do this. It's Christmas. These people are my family too. Were they your family when you were gambling away their college fund? Celestine spoke for the first time, her voice like ice. When you were lying to everyone at this table. This is between me and my wife. Castor shouted. No, Lyra said, standing up. Her voice was steady, but tears streamed down her face. This affects me and Orion too. We're not children anymore, Dad. We're 18. We understand what you did. Orion nodded, standing beside his sister. You stole our future. How could you do that to us? I was trying to provide for you. I was trying to make enough money so you could go to any college you wanted. By gambling with money that was already ours. Orion's voice was filled with a pain that made everyone in the room wince. Dad, I worked 3 jobs last summer to contribute to that fund. Lyra tutored kids after school. We were building our future together, and you threw it away. Thaddeus cleared his throat. Actually, there's something else everyone should know. Castor, you want to tell them about the debts? Castor's face went from pale to green. What debts? The ones you owe to some very unsavory people. The ones who've been calling the house, leaving messages about collection. Serafina stared at her brother. What are you talking about? Your husband didn't just gamble away the college fund. He owes money to loan sharks. People who don't take "I'll pay you back" as an acceptable answer. The room fell dead silent. Even the Christmas music playing softly in the background seemed to pause. Loan sharks. Evangeline's voice was barely a whisper. Castor, what have you done? I can handle it, Castor said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's not as bad as it sounds. How much? Serafina asked, her voice deadly calm. Sarah, please. How much do you owe these people? Castor's shoulders shook. 50,000. But I have a plan. $50,000 to criminals. Evangeline stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. You've put this entire family in danger. That's why I need the wine collection, Castor said desperately. I can sell it, pay them back, and… The wine collection that you bought with stolen money. Miranda interjected smoothly. I'm afraid that's now part of the asset freeze, along with the hidden bank account and the car. Lysander looked at his brother with disgust. You're 45 years old, Castor. How did you become this person? I was trying to take care of my family. By destroying it. Isadora spoke for the first time, her voice filled with disappointment. By putting your children in danger. Serafina walked to the window, looking out at the snow-covered street. There's something else you all should know. The house is at risk. If those loan sharks decide to get aggressive, if Castor can't pay them back, they know where we live. Oh my God, Lyra whispered. We're not safe here. That's why I've already made arrangements. Serafina turned back to the room. The twins and I are leaving tonight. We're going to stay with Celestine until this is resolved. You can't take my children. Castor stood up, his face red with rage. I'm not taking them. They're choosing to come with me. Because unlike you, I'm trying to protect them. 3 months later, Serafina stood in the kitchen of her new apartment, a modest but bright space that felt more like home than the mansion ever had. The divorce had been finalized quickly once all of Castor's debts and hidden assets came to light. The wine collection had been sold, along with the car and the contents of the secret account. Combined with Serafina's share of the house sale, there was enough to restore most of the college fund. Mom. Lyra called from the living room. Orion got his financial aid package from Stanford. Serafina smiled, drying her hands on a dishtail. Both twins had received partial scholarships based on their academic achievements, and the restored college fund would cover the rest. Her phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Castor's plea deal went through. 3 years probation, mandatory gambling addiction treatment, and he has to pay back every penny he owes you. How does it feel to be free? It felt like breathing after being underwater for 23 years. Mom, look. Orion held up his acceptance letter. I'm really going to Stanford. And I got into the journalism program at Columbia, Lyra added. I'm going to write about financial abuse and gambling addiction. Help other families recognize the warning signs. Serafina pulled her children into a hug. I'm so proud of you both. Not just for getting into college, but for how you've handled all of this. We learned from the best, Orion said. You showed us that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. As the sun set over their new life, Serafina reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She'd lost a marriage, but gained something invaluable, the knowledge that she was stronger than she'd ever imagined. Sometimes the best Christmas gift isn't what you receive, it's what you refuse to accept. Thanks for watching this incredible story of courage and justice. What would you have done in Serafina's situation? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more amazing stories, and share this with anyone who needs to hear about the power of standing up for what's right. See you in the next one.